Hey guys, it's John from ZonGuru here in Los Angeles at our headquarters, and welcome to Amazon Seller Insights. This is a series where we interview sellers who are crushing it on Amazon and beyond, and it's just really a chance for us to learn from their expertise and get some inspiration to fuel our own Amazon business. And today, I'm really stoked to have Raj Jana here with us today, all the way from Houston. So welcome, Raj.
What's up?
What's up? What's up?
Glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. And today we're going to talk about creating a brand on Amazon and how you can exponentially take that brand beyond Amazon into all different channels. And Raj started selling on Amazon back in 2015. He's created a brand and a company called JavaPress Coffee Company, and he's just been brilliant at creating a brand and really exponentially moving that brand beyond Amazon. So he's the perfect guy today to talk to us, and I'm just excited to learn from him today and hear what you got to say.
Yeah, I'm pumped to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, cool, awesome. Let's kick it off, Raj. Let's talk a little bit about, maybe just give us an overview of like how you got into the Amazon space, how you launched, and then what you've done until today. Maybe just give us a high level overview.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Raj. I live in Houston, Texas. I started JavaPress in September of 2015. It's when I launched my first product, which was a coffee grinder, like a manual coffee grinder. Within 12 months, we were doing 6 figs in revenue. And this was all, I was working a full-time job at the time, so it was hard managing a lot of stuff, but it forced me to sort of scale and figure out the systems and hire people and really understand where my time was leveraged well, which is something that really helped in the beginning because I was forced to figure things out without having a lot of leeway. And then just kept growing and growing the brand. I left my full-time job last July, actually. Yeah. So I've been a full-time entrepreneur for about 7 or 8 months. How
much do you need to get paid to go back to a 9 to 5 job?
I wouldn't do it. No, I'm done.
Yeah.
So first year in business, we did $23,000 in sales. Second year, we did $600,000. Third year, we did $2.2 million, and then just growing from there. I'm in my 4th year right now. So it's been a lot of fun. We only have 5 SKUs, so everyone telling you need to launch millions of products to win, you don't have to, you can. It's a strategy, of course, that works for a lot of people, but for me, I found it much more practical and effective to find winning products and then double down on them winning again and again and again to the point where it actually shatters the category and you create your own niche and your own lead, so that you can use those profits to invest in other parts of the business that allow you to scale beyond just an Amazon presence, which is something that was really important to me at the time.
So when you say double down and that focus on one product, what do you mean by that in terms of?
So our first product was obviously a manual coffee grinder, and we were doing about $20,000 a month in sales within the first 3 months. And that just came from the same ranking strategies that probably all the gurus talk about. Did a bunch of giveaways, got it ranked, kept the lead. I stayed in stock, which is a huge thing to do if you're selling on Amazon. I cannot stress that enough. If you run out of stock, you lose the compound effect of building a brand, which customers actually, so if you think about how customers buy today, if I showed you a really cool product, John, and be like, dude, this thing is amazing. I love it. I love it. I love it. First thing you're going to do is you're going to bring out your phone, and you're going to be like, where'd you get that? I got it on Amazon. You're going to go to Amazon, look it up, and because we all have phones and all of our payment information is in our phone, you're going to swipe, and it's going to be in your home in 2 days. If you run out of stock, you lose the ability to build your best audience, and you lose the ability to use people who have already bought your product to sell on your behalf. Which is a really painful thing to rebuild because customer loyalty is super valuable in the long run. And so when I say double down, I mean staying in stock, I mean investing in getting yourself ranked on the Amazon platform. And then once you do that, investing in proven strategies off the Amazon platform to build your lead so that if anything does happen, new competitors come in the space, new brands show up out of nowhere, things happen, it doesn't really affect you as much because there are other sources sending traffic to your Amazon listings. When people go to Google, all of a sudden you're the only wall they see. When you're on Facebook, all of a sudden your ads start showing up everywhere. I mean, when you double down on one product and you build an ecosystem across every social marketplace, you pretty much stay top of mind. And when you stay top of mind, you stay top of everything. Not only because Amazon owns their shopping behavior, that's where all their credit cards are stored. Facebook owns their attention, which is where all their trust is stored. Google owns their thoughts, which is where people go when they're looking for questions. So if you just figure out a way to take one product, prove it on Amazon, get sales going, and then all of a sudden invest in other marketplaces to build your lead and cement the lead, you allow yourself to double down and compound a lot faster. So, I mean, when I said we reached 6 figures revenue within 1 year, that was from one product. And so that was the strategy we really used.
Yeah. So I think we can get into the strategies and the actual channels of how you took it beyond Amazon. But I think before that, you know, you obviously got to have a brand and you've got to have a vision for your brand. And I think what you've done, which was incredibly insightful, is you didn't just do what a lot of us do, which is, hey, I'm going to launch a product on Amazon, you know, and launch a product, and then maybe as it gets a bit of traction, you actually start to think about your brand. You actually started with your brand in mind. You already had a vision for that. You were like, I'm not just doing this for Amazon. I'm actually creating this brand. So maybe talk a little bit about like your thought process in creating that brand, and also maybe there's like 2 parts to this. One is how you actually, what is the process you went through to really understand your customer? Because I think if you have a brand, you've got to have a really good avatar. You've got to understand their needs. You've got to understand how you're going to engage and connect with that customer. So what did you do around that process to really understand your customer, and then how did you then engage with them?
Yeah, so you asked a couple of questions, so I'll try and break that out.
Yeah, sorry, I should have asked
no worries. But I guess, what did I do in the beginning? So yeah, Amazon was a platform. It was something I used to make money. It wasn't something I used to live on. It wasn't something I planned on living on. So when I launched my products, when I first did my product research, I was not only looking at, can I create a product that's going to win? It was more, can I create something that is scalable beyond Amazon? So I picked the coffee space not because I found a couple of different products like coffee grinders and French presses and pour overs and all that stuff that were selling well, but I also saw an opportunity to one day maybe sell beans, to maybe go and do other things outside the coffee space, to sell stuff in retail stores, to go to coffee shops, to partner with them. I saw a future beyond just private labeling, which was really important to me. Now, different people might say different things, but for me, like I said, I was really gung-ho on creating a brand because I wanted something that I could tell people. I hated going to Amazon conferences and not being able to tell people what I was selling. Like that always just kind of bugged me and made me feel really weird. And so I wanted something that I could tell people, and I could be like, look, this is what I'm selling, this is my brand, I'm really proud of it. Because I do put a lot into work. I do put in a lot of work to create something meaningful. So that was the importance for me. So in the beginning, I was always looking at how can I grow beyond Amazon. Once that happens, when you put in the work to realize that you don't just want to sell on Amazon, you want to create a brand, you actually put in the work to understand the psychographic demographic of the customers you're trying to sell to. So what magazines are they reading? Where are they shopping? What kind of car do they drive? How old are they? What do they love to eat? Where do they live? Why do they live there? What are they going through in life? You know, what TV shows are they watching? What colors do they like? What smells do they like? You know, like just trying to understand what kind of music do they listen to.
How did you do that? How did you find out?
So one of my e-mentors, I guess Russell Brunson. Anybody here know who Russell Brunson is? He started a company called ClickFunnels, which is like a bazillion-dollar company now. But he
actually they did $1 billion in sales as of yesterday.
I don't doubt it. He has this process called creating a top 100 for your industry. So what a top 100 is looking at who the top 5 for me coffee is, who the top 5 coffee shops are, who the top 5 subscription models are, who the top 5 Amazon sellers are, who the top 5 magazines are, who are the top 5 influencers, who are the top 5 coffee tasters, who are the top 5 importers, who are the top 5, just understanding what your niche looks like. Because when you can paint a picture like that, before you even start thinking about the copy you're going to write or the bullet points you're going to do, you start to really understand who is buying what.
Yeah.
And when you understand who is buying what, you start to see opportunities where you can insert yourself without having to take a lot of risk because you understand the ways that the entire system works together. So that was really important for me in the beginning,
Gotcha.
is really just understanding the entire ecospace of coffee. But from there, you talk about like how did I learn to connect with my customers.
Mm-hmm.
So I told you guys I worked a full-time job when I was building my company on the side. When I was working a full-time job, I had a mentor who spent about 37 years at the same company. And with about 3 months left until retirement, he had a heart attack and died, which like was a slap across the face for me because my dad had been working his entire life in corporate America. And so for me, when I realized that was happening, I realized that everybody around me was focusing on going forward, shooting for things in the future, stopping, not really being present in the moment, appreciating what they have. So when I was building Java Press, really the mission sort of evolved. It never used to be wanting to connect with customers and create a really amazing brand that does all this stuff now. In the beginning, it was just, I want to make money so I can leave my job, so I can pay off my debt, so I can just live and be free. But it grew once that experience happened. And once that experience happened, I started selling something that was true to me through my products, which is what then created the community that Java Press has now. So it was built on a story that was real to me, and because it was real to me, I didn't have to really go out there and fake it. It was something that kind of came naturally to my customers. So when we communicated them in inserts, when we communicated with them through Facebook, when we communicated with them through unboxing or any type of inserts we give out to go and look at our website, the language on our website, everything was telling something that was important to me. And I think that built a really vulnerable connection with my customers. So then it became irrelevant of what I was selling. I started connecting with an emotion and a human need to feel something. And I think that's what really took our brand. So we did, think about like 80 grand a year before this event happened. After this event happened, we were doing 240 to 320 grand a year.
Wow.
Or a month, sorry, not a year, a month in sales. After I switched the marketing to being more story-centric about what the product meant to me, why this product, because we weren't selling anything different at the time. Like, we really weren't. We were selling the same exact products that anybody else can source off of Alibaba and AliExpress, but the main differentiator that took us to the moon was just having a real story. And once I had a real story, then it didn't matter if I told everyone about the brand because it's my story. Like,
because now it's the brand, it's not just the product.
It's the story.
Yeah.
I mean, you're selling the story. And when you're selling the story, it doesn't matter if everybody knows what you sell because they can't tell your story. And that's the competitive edge that you can create for any product. It doesn't matter what you're selling. You could be selling mops to selling lawnmowers. It doesn't matter. Like, if you've got a story that resonates with yourself, and you tell that story authentically through your marketing, you really create a product experience that people connect with, and when they connect with that product experience, you create something that's in its category of its own, which is what brands on Shopify, which is what Kickstarter, there's a reason why Kickstarter brands do so well, because they literally, like, if you look at every Kickstarter landing page, it's like a story, a video. Mm-hmm. It's like, why did we do this? That's literally the first thing they answer. Oh, because I've always liked this, or because I've always wanted this, and there's always some sort of connection from the brand to the product that makes people want to be a part of that story. And I don't know why we don't do it enough on Amazon, but it's the same exact concept. So having that is really important, and it was really important for us because we wouldn't have been able to scale beyond Amazon or even on the Amazon platform without having that type of story-centric marketing be a center core piece. And when you have that center core piece, like I said, it doesn't really matter who your customer is because knowing your customer and your avatar allows you to place ads and find them in the right places, but the way you sell them is going to be unique to yourself.
Gotcha. So let's talk about that, creating that story and that brand experience. Like, you were really smart in how you took people from buying a product on Amazon into an ecosystem bigger than Amazon.
Yeah.
You maybe talk about those customer journey trigger points and how you took them from the insert to something bigger and bigger than that, and maybe talk about how you created that story and that brand experience.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a big part of what how you look at the product versus the coffee and the subscription. I think that's a really interesting
So
space.
sure, just to give you guys some context, right now with the way we're set up, we have physical products on Amazon. We have a recurring coffee subscription on our Shopify store. So it's fresh roasted in the US. It's a completely different product line, a completely different revenue stream. I've got a podcast called the Stay Grounded podcast that connects coffee with success, with fulfillment, with happiness, which then comes back to the story that I sell, which then is reinforced through the product and everything. So what John's saying is, I mean, we've really created an ecosystem that feeds one another. So it doesn't matter which ecosystem a customer comes through, they're all connected, and there's touch points that tell the story in a million different ways because nobody hears it once and gets it. So by being repetitive with the way that we market and brand what we do, it allows them to really sort of create their own experience within the company, which is what I think creates really lifelong brand advocates. Mm-hmm. So the first thing we do, if they buy on Amazon, which is what everyone here is doing, the first thing we do is immediately my customer service representative, or there's an email that goes out through the Amazon email system that's from my rep. And it's like, hey, I just want to let you know I'm your personal customer service rep.
Wow, that's interesting.
I just want to let you know I had a job I really used to hate before I joined JavaPress. And then I joined JavaPress, and because of the story and the mission and everything that we do here, I've really started to love it, and I have all the power in the world to make you happy. And that's the first email somebody gets. It's not even about the product. It's literally about how this person is so in love with the brand. And when you do that, all of a sudden somebody's curious. Now it's beyond the product. It has nothing to do with the product. It has everything to do with the message. They're like, what is the story? What's the brand? And so then they go to the website. Then they discover the podcast. And before the product even arrives, they're selling themselves on the brand without knowing anything about quality, without knowing anything about the way the product feels in their hands, without knowing whether it's working or not going to work for them, whether they know if they're going to give it a 1 or 5-star review. They have no idea. All they know is right now they have to know the story. So then the second email that comes in is right when the product's about to arrive, we give a ton of resources. We tell them some tips that aren't included in the insert, some tips that aren't included on the website, just to get them to feel like these emails that we send them are really important. And then the product arrives. On the product, we're also huge fans of giving back, so we're partnered right now with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and we're going to be partnering with a lot more children's organizations over the next couple of years to help kids that have gone through a tough break. And so that's really important to me, and so that's also told through the brand. So when they receive the box on there, it says immediately the first thing is, every purchase you make, we donate to causes in need. Click here to learn more. So like I said, before the product is even opened, there's literally storytelling the entire way. There's no way somebody can look at me and be like, God, this guy's an ass. There's no way. And when somebody doesn't think you're an ass, or when somebody doesn't think that you're like out to screw them or scam them or anything, there's no way they can leave you a 1-star review unless they're really bitter. So that's a really easy way to just scan out 1-star reviews by starting story-centric marketing from the point somebody buys your product to the point that it arrives. Now, once they actually open up the box, we include inserts, and now is when we do the cross-selling and the upselling. We launched the coffee subscription like 5 months ago, so it's relatively new to me, so I'm still learning it and figuring it out. But that part, now we have, hey, since you bought our grinder, you get a free month to our coffee subscription. Check it out. And then on the insert, we give them God knows how many resources. We send them to a landing page, which is really important. So here, go to a landing page and check in with us. Create an account with us to verify your purchase so that we can donate to charity, which is how we get emails. And then once you get emails, then that starts a whole new journey of customer relationships through email marketing. We do a ton of email marketing every month, which is very much purpose-driven on turning customers who now have the product in their hand. So now all the marketing I do is all product-focused. So I've got, I spent a lot of money. Instead of launching new products on Amazon, what I did was I took all the money and I created resources for the brand. So I have ultimate guides on grinding coffee, ultimate guides on French presses. I have like 200 articles on the website. I've got videos of me like showing how to use the product, answering every FAQ on the planet that is like, those little like questions and answers settings. Here's another hack. I You know, like, here's another hack. Like literally, those question and answer settings. Literally, just go through all of your competitors, pull out an iPhone, just prop it up, and just start answering the questions. Title those on YouTube and upload them. Now, anytime an Amazon customer types that question into Google, all of a sudden your face pops up with you showing how to use the product that is on Amazon, sends them to Amazon, and boom, now you get a sale. I have like random videos that I made like years ago that have like 400 views on it that I didn't even think anybody knew anything about. There's random questions that I got from Amazon and I just answered. So, you know, it's about creating all that content. So I created all this content and I was able to use that content then to deliver an experience that was different than what anybody else can deliver. And so I focused really, really, really heavily on just delivering an amazing experience that minimized the likelihood of leaving a 1-star review. There was no hacks. There was nothing crazy. This is all just going above and beyond. It's under-promising and over-delivering. That's all it is. Buying on Amazon is an under-promise, 100%. They're just buying based on price. They actually probably don't even read your listing. They literally just look at the pictures. It looks pretty. There's enough reviews. Oh my God, this guy's not trying to scam me with keywords. Let me buy it. Boom. So they don't really know anything about your product. So the real selling happens after they buy your product. And by focusing your resources on building that customer journey, you actually set yourself apart because nobody else is focusing their attention there. So that's how we really do it, really, is bringing them into our world. And then once they're in our world, once they land on the landing page, you know, I'm a huge fan of using every type of marketing to literally like own like customer attention. So like Google, YouTube, Instagram, I mean Facebook. We're huge Facebook fans, so we do a lot of ads. And so when they land on the landing page, we pixel them. And those who don't know what a pixel is, it's like this thing in Facebook where it's like a piece of code where if you put it on a website, Facebook tracks that they came to your website, and then you can just follow them with ads forever. But we don't follow them with spammy ads. We follow them with like, hey, I just want to let you know that I'm super grateful for you being in our family. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, just shoot us an email. Irene's always here to help. It's always helpful stuff like that in the beginning, and then you can set up ads based on how far they are in the customer journey. So when they're a little bit further and I'm like, yo, I got some dope coffee, get it. And it's a lot of fun to sell them that way.
Now on that coffee, it's a high-end luxury coffee, right?
Yeah.
Subscription.
So each bag is $25. It is sourced from some of the most exquisite farms around the world. I wanted to go the other end of Amazon, which was absolutely like high-end luxury, because that's the brand that I wanted to build. That was important to me. Now, I know a lot of people that take different opinions on this, but for me, our coffees will never go on Amazon. That is a purely website-focused product. We're revamping the whole website. New website goes live April 1st. Shout out. Just keep an eye out for it. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, so
I think that's incredibly smart because you've built this brand experience and this loyalty, you know, and they're like, wow, that was just a coffee grinder, but now I have like all these resources and I know how to grind, and I didn't know there was like this much to coffee. And then you've brought in the subscription at a very high price point, but you've already got them because they're brand ambassadors, so of course they're going to buy it. And you know, even though I think your subscription model is new, it's only been going, you said 4 months or something, I think that
it's working.
There's a very good chance it might even overtake your product sales by far.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing I think right now we have about 400 subscribers paying me $25 a month.
Wow.
Which is, it's good money. It's recurring.
And it's not tied to Amazon.
And it's recurring. So it's like a set it and forget. As long as I don't piss them off or screw up something, I think I've got fans for life. Actually, I was telling you this earlier, we had a customer, so we allow customers to like prepay for like tons of months. We had a customer pay for like $400 worth of coffee for like the next like 3 years, which was like crazy. Like I was like, this is wild. And so they just gave me $400 right off the bat. And it's crazy that it came from a $23.99 product.
So your lifetime value on that is...
That's the really important thing, because like you can take people from a price-driven environment to something that is brand-driven just by telling a good story. And I can't emphasize that enough, really. I mean, any product, it doesn't matter what you sell. There's a reason why you sell it, and you tell that reason well enough, you're going to convince somebody that, man, this is the guy I need to buy this from forever. And that's really what we've built. And like I said, now we're kind of growing it, and I'm investing more in the brand, and and bringing the brand name out. And so the podcast is a huge play with that. It's connecting, the coffee with other product lines we wanted, whether it be information products on how to have amazing morning routines or meditations, or the podcast, which will bring in a whole new stream of revenue with sponsorships and all that stuff. Really, you use one platform, you double down on it. And when I say one platform, I mean it can mean one product, it can mean 10. It doesn't matter. As long as, and this should be said too, I mean, I personally don't think you need to launch 200 products. I think that's stressful. That stresses me out. Like cash flow constraints. I mean, you're investing money into avenues that haven't been proven yet. There's going to be maybe 2 in 10 that take off. The other 10 are going to be base hits. And that's really tough, especially when you're trying to scale a product that's got high demand. When you have a product that has high demand, you need to just take the cash you're making and buy more inventory so you can sell more per day. And if you try doing that across 10 different products, it's hard to build like this infamous sort of name. Like now we have JavaPress. It's like, oh, that's the JavaPress grinder. I got that. Like I'm on Reddit all the time. I'm like seeing what people are saying about us. And there's all these like coffee nerds just talking crazy shit about our product. They're like, God, this $23.99 product, everybody has it. Like, what's so great about it? Like, they don't get it. Like, they don't, like, functionality-wise, it's still a product from China. Functionality-wise, it's a great product, but it's not the best. There are products out there that are the best, but the brand is the best. And that's the point that I really want to drive home today. If there's one point you take home, it's if you invest in the brand, quality is always going to matter to a certain degree, but you don't have to have a product that's industry-leading. You can have an industry-leading brand based on a unique story that you tell and only you can tell, and that'll set you apart in light years beyond, I guarantee you, what your competition is doing.
Yeah, I mean, I just see that it's that everyone's like, well, how much is a brand worth? But when you, just that one little look on the Amazon pages and seeing your competitors, you're 10xing anybody else in the space on that page, which is, and that's just one little like unique view, and that's literally because of the work you've done and the loyalty and the brand that you've created. So, the biggest learning for me is just that it is a $23.99 product, or somewhere around there, and you've actually thought about creating a whole experience around that, and we can do that with any of our products, which is awesome.
It's kind of funny. I'm actually the most expensive manual coffee grinder of its kind on Amazon, which is wild, right? I mean, it's $23.99, but it's the most expensive. Everyone else is like selling it for $10, $11, but mine's $23, and it's going to stay $23. I might even go to 24. I don't know, but I mean, like I've built, and so once you build that lead, like now I've invested in product designers to go in and actually patent the product. So now we have a patented manual coffee grinder. So we have like a utility patent on it, which is amazing, and that just adds to the lead. So like once you double down, you can fake it till you make it. You don't have to have the best product, but you do need to invest in an amazing brand. And
so I want to open up for questions in a second, but maybe just a couple of other questions. Like, so what's your advice for people who have started on Amazon or have a product and they're thinking about creating a brand, or with something that they've got already and they're wanting to expand beyond Amazon? What's the best advice you can give them to start down that journey?
First, focus on winning on Amazon first before you focus on getting off of Amazon. I think a lot of people try and diversifying way too early. We were making 6 figures before I thought about even moving. I think that you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you, and Amazon feeds you pretty damn fast. So double down, get your product making the money you want it to make, and that number is going to be different for everybody here. So once you're making the money you want to be making, but there are things you can do now to start building that relationship. One, get really clear on your story. Have a website, even if it's just a landing page. Have a website, have a compelling about who you are. I got a really good friend, Michael Quinn. You know Michael?
Yeah, of course.
Michael's a good buddy of mine. I mean, his story is literally about how he hires all of his family members to do everything. And like his story is literally like he's hanging out with his family, and in the insert it's like a picture of him and like his brother or his mom, And he's like, hey, we're a family-run business. That's a story that makes me want to buy more from him.
And it's a really shitty design. Sorry, Michael, but it's a shitty design insert. But it's like, I'm a family business, and like that's what it is.
But see, that's the thing. Like, because when you're a family business, you can get away with stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's the thing you guys aren't realizing. When you have a really authentic brand, it doesn't matter how good it looks. How good it looks it's there to a certain degree, but it's not going to be the selling point. It's not going to be why somebody tells about you to another person. It's not going to be the thing that goes viral. What's going to be viral is the authenticity behind what you say. And Michael's an incredible example of that.
Yeah,
so, I mean, and he started, I mean, that's just, it's, like I said, that doesn't take a lot of work. He's just telling his truth. And so that's the first thing I would do, is have some sort of brand kind of authenticity that's tied back to you. Doesn't matter what it is. You can be like, oh, I just really love this, or, hey, look, I have a job and I hate what I do, and I wanted to get into entrepreneurship since I was a kid, and I finally did. And this is my first product, and I'm learning a ton, and I'm just growing. Even that is just going to be so much more refreshing than something being like the top this of this thing. I mean, manufactured in this country, like, it doesn't matter. So yeah, just being radically honest is one thing. Two, start in some way, shape, or form thinking about how you're going to start building a customer database of some sorts. For me, it was taking people from Amazon to off of Amazon and pixeling them and having them give me their email. You can do that through VIP clubs, you can do that through anything, but having a list is important. And having a list, because now when you have promotions or you have anything, you can just send them back, you can sell more. And building a relationship, however you build that relationship. I mean, Dollar Shave Club doesn't really do a lot of email marketing, but they have funny videos. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. Build a relationship with your customers through some sort of authentic marketing that you don't have to fake. So if it's hard for you to do emails, don't do emails, do video. If it's hard for you to do video, don't do that, do emails. But figure out a way to really start investing in that brand slowly but surely, so that you can create assets that you can leverage when you really need to. Like now, I don't need to necessarily have ranking funnels going to Amazon, but I do need to have assets that allow customers to go from Amazon to buy my coffee. And how am I going to do that? I'm going to be showing them guides about why or how to buy coffee. Literally, like the 101 on how to buy coffee, like 50 articles. I just give it to them for free. Like stuff like that's invaluable. And stuff like that is worth a lot if you want to sell your company at any point.
Yeah, so I think the last thing from my side is, like, you know, you have an incredible work ethic, and, you know, just the fact of you going on you know, questions and answering all that, and just putting that work in. But you also have a very, you know, like a methodology in terms of how you have created your business, and there's an entrepreneur mindset, and you learn from you know, other people who have done it before. So maybe just a little bit of an insight into your mindset of how you've created your business. How do you learn? How do you fail forward? How do you, you know, what's your entrepreneurial mindset in terms of how you approach your business?
One thing is to know why you're doing this. I know that sounds so cliche.
That's your why.
I hate saying that, but I mean, it really is. It's such an important thing to know. I mean,
and what is your why?
I mean, well, my why evolves. Like when I was working full time, I was like, I don't want to be at this job. Like, I'm willing to wake up early to work so I can leave this damn place so I can go do whatever the hell I want to do. That was big enough for me. That might not be big enough for everybody, but that was big enough for me. That's why it's hard to say like where the drive comes from. But then I think after that, it's discipline, really. You don't need 10 hours a day to be successful. You just need 1 hour of really focused work. And whenever that is, the trick for me, and I learned this when I was working a full-time job, but it was really just picking the same time every day to do work. That way, like, you already know you're going to do it then. You already know, and plan the night before what you're going to do in that hour. So when you're in that hour, you're not really thinking, you're just doing. And really sort of ruthlessly taking action in that hour. And then after that hour, I would stop. Like, I really wouldn't do much.
And in terms of learning your strategies and the masterminds, maybe talk a little bit about
that. So I love to ask questions. I'm a huge question asker. I love being around people that are doing well, and I love asking them how to do. I'm a sponge when it comes to really learning. And I love learning from people that have done exactly what I want to do. I think learning just from everybody is a waste of learning capacity. I don't think we have, like, we're not computers. We can't just take in everything. We have to be very selective about what we choose to put in our brains. And I choose to put in my brain. So, like, people I study are like the Shopify. Anyone know what the Shopify Build a Business competition is? Anyone know what that is? I study them because they are where I want to be. Like, I might not want to win on Shopify, but I see most of them have one or two different types of products that are just crushing it. I want to know how they did it off of Amazon. So now that I'm in this off Amazon space, like really trying to learn that game, that's who I study from. That's all I learn. I go to masterminds where they're probably present. I try and figure out where they're probably speaking. I go to those events. I really try and soak in as much as I can about stuff that's relevant to me. I think there's, I've got a running book list that's like got off the charts right now, but I think reading stuff and soaking in information that isn't relevant to the action you're taking right now is it's almost a distraction, and it gets in the way more than it does help. So even if somebody recommends a good book, you should be really disciplined about where you want to be. So knowing where you want to go is really important too. Not only knowing why you want to get there, but knowing where you want to be at what time. Setting a deadline, that's another huge thing. Like I set a deadline, and deadlines worked for me. It might not work for everybody, but when I first launched my product in September, I told myself I wanted to make 15 grand a month in 3 months. My mentor said that, hey man, that's kind of hard. I don't know if you want to like shoot it a little short. And I was like, no, screw it. I mean, if I'm going to study for the SAT, I'd rather go for a 2,400 than a 1,900 and then end up short anyways. So might as well shoot for the stars. So shot for it, ended up making 23 grand that month. And so I would just highly recommend you be very crystal clear on what you want and then just focus on getting there. Read it every day. I read my goals every morning. In the shower, I've actually got this printout on my shower that's just like
a waterproof one.
Waterproof one, yeah. That I just read to myself. I'm like, I want this, I want this, I want this. Why do you want it? I want this, I want this, I want this. And it's just reminding yourself what you want, why you want it, and then setting aside time every single day at the same time to just ruthlessly execute. And then the rest of the time, you're just taking in positive stuff and learning. And if you just set up that one system, I mean, you'll set yourself apart because it is a 20-mile march. Has anyone heard of the 20-mile march? You know that concept? Mm-hmm. It's this concept that you have two people racing. One person walks a mile every day. The other person walks 5 miles when he feels like it. And the person at the end of 20 days, the person who walked 1 mile every single day walked 20 miles. The other person walked, I think, like 11. Mm-hmm. Mm. And that's the moral of the story. I mean, really, it's a lot better to just do a little bit of work every single day without question than it is to do a lot of work when you feel like it, or when the weekend's free, or when your friends aren't hitting you up, or like it's really easy to lose track if you're not disciplined. So
yeah, that was for me as well. I think it's just that idea of momentum. Like even if it's one little thing a week, you'll look back and see how far you've come. So
and momentum compounds.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning, it's just an hour, right? And then all of a sudden, it's an hour plus your reading. And all of a sudden, it's an hour plus your reading, and now you're hanging out with people that, like everyone in this room, you're hanging out with each other. Like there's that now. And over time, it's just like this slow growth, and then all of a sudden, it just blows up out of nowhere. I promise. It's literally overnight. And it looks like an overnight success. That's where literally the concept overnight success happens. Because people are like, oh, look, yesterday he was nothing, and then all of a sudden he's this now. It is a uphill battle for a very long time, but if you just stay on it, eventually you hit your break, and then you just take off. There's actually a really great book, one of my favorite books, that covers that concept called The Compound Effect. Yeah. By a guy named Darren Hardy. He is the editor-in-chief at Success Magazine, so this guy knows his shit. He crushes it. That's all it is, just daily consistent work on the right things, and then removing all the other things that aren't relevant with what you're working on, and just focus there. And I'd be very surprised if you don't see positive results. Won't be immediately, but give yourself a week or two, and you'll start to see something.
Awesome. I think we're going to open it up now, but so real quick, what's the next crazy adventure for you?
Oh man, really right now it's just scaling the coffees. I want to max out by the end of this year, so we have about, I think, 8,000 bags a month right now of max capacity. I'm at 400, so I want to max that out. And then I want to hire a team that can manage all the day-to-day so that I can focus on branding and growing and partnerships and doing all the fun stuff that we all want to be doing in our businesses, but are too tied doing all the other stuff to be doing. So.
Awesome. Yeah. So let's open it up to questions. I think we've got a mic Somewhere, Darren, you got that right. Over.
Hey, thank you so much. I have two questions actually.
Yeah.
First one is, why coffee? Did you just like wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to go into the coffee business? Or did it have something to do with your previous business that you were working at? Or is it a passion of yours? That's one question. The second one is about mentors. You mentioned a lot about mentors. How did you go about finding the right mentors, and what kind of investment did you make into mentorship?
Yeah, cool. Great questions. Firstly, when I first started in coffee, I didn't even drink coffee, just so y'all know. I learned to love coffee after it started making me money. But before then, it really was just a niche that my first business, back in 2014 was my first real stint in entrepreneurship. And I joined a course called The Foundation, which is a course that teaches people how to start a software business from scratch. And in that business, the whole concept is, I'm not going to get into the course.
Terrible business.
Yeah, I mean, clearly I'm here now. So the concept is you ask people what their pains are, and then you build something that fixes their pain through software. So that was the concept of the business, or the concept of that. So my first business was scheduling software for breweries. And the next concept of the foundation is ask them for pre-sale so that you can use the money they give you to build the solution before you even have money.
Like Kickstarter almost.
Yeah, so I did that, and I realized that brewers didn't have money. There weren't a lot of brewers out there. There's only like 3,000 in the US, and they were all broke. And I just realized that I had followed a passion into business, and that screwed me, because I love beer, and it's awesome. And so really for me, from there, when I came into the Amazon world, I wanted to take a very analytical approach. So I went through, actually there's an article out there that I wrote that I'm happy to send you guys that literally details my entire product launch, or product like finding, niche finding process that I'm happy to share. But in a nutshell, really, I went in super detailed on the numbers, looking at competitors, what was working, what wasn't working, doing the top 100, really figuring out what I wanted to get into before I even spent $1. And what was important to me about coffee was that it's unlimited. Like, it doesn't matter. It's one of the only niches in the world where, as the world's population increases, so does the demand for coffee.
If it's cold, you drink coffee. If it's warm, you drink coffee. It doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really matter. It's coffee.
Yeah.
So for me, I just wanted a niche where if I put in my 100% and I actually tried and worked, I couldn't lose. With breweries, that wasn't the case. I worked my ass off and I lost. And I didn't like that concept. So I wanted something that if I worked hard, I would win. And that's why I picked a really competitive niche like coffee, which was my preference. Now with mentors, I started out actually at places like these. So like I started networking with people that were doing just a little bit better than me, learning from them. I was a huge fan of paying for information, so I still am. I think that if you can learn from somebody else's mistakes, you save yourself so much time. I worked a full-time job when I first started JavaPress, so I had money to invest in my learning. So I was actually more willing to risk. But in hindsight, that was one of the most important things I did because it built a mindset of learning and taking action on info products. I think info products have a bad rep. They're like, oh, these don't work. Well, they only work if you work. So every course I've ever bought works because I put in the work and I ask the questions and I get engaged in the community and I'm really, really, really about it. So my mentors came in paid form in the beginning, either coming to events like these, finding people that are a little bit ahead of me, or buying their courses and then excelling at their courses. And then when I excelled at their courses, they were like, oh, I want to make you a case study. I was like, yeah, well, can you mentor me at the same time? So it kind of worked out to where I would kind of earn my way into their mentorship and then do that. And then once I did that, we were doing successful. And then I started investing in masterminds, conferences, meeting people at conferences, getting to know them, adding value however I can so that they would invite me to other meetups and masterminds and conferences. And then it just slowly but surely trickled into now I'm in a couple of different masterminds that make me really happy and add a lot of value to my business. But it all started with paying for information and then taking the action to really sort of figure it out and make the people who created the courses want to mentor me. I mean, I was 26 right now. So when I first started, I was 23, 24. So when I was that young, it was really cool too, because when somebody sees, me at that age and you're doing something, like, they wanted to help me. But I don't think that age is a barrier at all. I think that if you just get out there and you work hard and you're really eager and you show that you're willing to learn and you're willing to be humble and you're willing to just take in information and execute, I think anybody would be glad to mentor. I think people are itching to give away information, actually. Anyways, hope that answers your
What else?
Awesome, man.
Yeah. I think over here.
What's up, Raj?
What's going on, dude? Yeah.
What was the worst day at Java Press? Like after you got going and you were like scaling, and did a supplier not seal the bags one day? You're like, what was the worst problem you had to overcome?
God damn it. Yeah. So my worst day came.
Which one do you pick?
Came in March of 2016. So I told you we're doing pretty well, consistently growing, 20 grand a month, 40 grand a month, 42, 43. Then March came, and I found out that there was like a fatal flaw in the grinder where 90% of the products broke. So it wasn't a product that broke immediately, it broke 3 months after, so there's no way I could have even done a quality check. I wasn't a material engineer, I didn't know anything about it. So they all broke, and thankfully I had inserts that said, if there's any problem, just contact us. And so, but we got a ton of 1-star reviews, we got people reaching out to me wanting to refund, 90% refunds. Yeah. So like went from making 40 grand a month to losing probably like 20 something grand, like literally overnight. But at the time that I realized very early that on Amazon, if you can keep a high rating, and you can weather the initial storm, which is like that storm. There's a storm on our grinder. I think right now we have about 4,400 reviews. This happened when we had like 200 or 300 reviews. So when you're at that point, there's a tipping point of reviews where once you have enough, it doesn't matter, because people just trust that there's so many reviews, they're probably good. But there's that breaking point where you're in like the 2 to 3, 400, 500 range, where it's really easy to go from 5-star to 4-star and 4-star to 3.5 if you're not diligent, right? So in that time frame, I knew it worked. I was making 40 grand a month the month before, so I knew that this was a problem that needed to be fixed. But if I let this go, this would be an asset that I wasted a lot of time on. So I actually refunded all my customers. I was actually replying to people myself. So as soon as I knew the messages were coming, so I had canned responses. As soon as someone responded, or like, hey, my grinder broke, what the hell? And then literally 2 minutes later, boom, send it. Hey, I just want to let you know, so sorry, that's definitely our fault. I'm going to refund you and send you a new one. And when I fix the product, I'm actually going to send you a replacement too, like a replacement piece. The fact that I responded within 2 to 3 minutes made them forget that the product was even broken, because they're like, what? This is crazy. I've never experienced this in my life. And that was the first inklings of us actually creating a brand on Amazon. So although it was one of the worst things that ever happened to me, it ended up turning out to be one of the best things that happened for me, because it created the customer service philosophy that we have now that allowed us to create something that sort of compounded over time. Because within 4 months, I fixed the problem. Like I talked to my supplier and I was like, hey, look, like this thing is breaking. You need to fix it. And they fixed it. And then when we sent it out, customers were, those same customers, they remembered. I was like, hey, I didn't forget you. Here's a piece on me. Take it. I just want to say thank you for believing in us. So it was like something like, I just said something simple. And those people are the ones that are paying $400 or $500 for my coffee right now. And so when you really think about it, like doing the right thing at the right time, even though it doesn't feel right to you, will end up actually being the best thing you could do for yourself. So just, even though you're weathering storms, just know that it's a roller coaster, and just do the right thing. And if you've proven it and it makes money, because this concept makes money. Everyone here, this makes money. If you just do the right things and you stick with it, you will make money. That's not even a question. Yeah. It's just making, everyone's roller coaster is going to be different. So your roller coaster is going to be a hell of a lot different than mine. But just make sure that when those roller coasters come, you recognize that this is an opportunity to be better. There's a really great book actually called Obstacle is the Way, by a guy named Ryan Holiday. He talks about this entire concept where he talked about all these Stoic philosophers and how one guy was like deaf, and when he was deaf, he turned into like one of the best speechwriters ever, and like, so like you just got to roll with the punches and don't give up. And
Well,
So-
that honesty and that authenticity is what's going to give you longevity. You know, everybody's going to make money, but if you don't really, you know, bring the right value, you can kill your brand. And so that's what you've got to do.
Look at it this way. In that moment, if I would have been like, don't worry about it. It's just
Tough
a
shit.
defect, or like I'm going to send you a new one. And if I wasn't even honest with them, that would have happened again, and then again, and I would have made my quick money, and I'd be out in 3 months. And so, you know, when you really think about it, think about it. Think about your friends. Like, whenever you screw up, like, and you're like, or you don't want to go out, or you want to go meet up with friends or something, and you're like, yo, dude, like, I'm feeling kind of sick. Or if you're like, dude, I really don't want to show up tonight. Like, I'm having a bad day. It's not fun. Like, I'll catch you next time. Y'all go have a good time. I'll meet you out later. Like, which one's going to be received better? This one where he probably is like, God, this asshole. He just lied to me. Or this one where he's like, all right, that's real. Thank you, man. I'll see you later. And that is the type of marketing that is going to win in the long term, even though it doesn't feel like it in the moment. Because customers are going to care.
Tom.
Did I answer your question, man?
Yeah. Hey, Raj. My name is Tom, and that was an awesome presentation. It was really good. Also 26, and
Nice.
I quit my job December 15th. So,
Yeah.
Nice, dude.
the question I want to ask you is, I think we own a skincare company. We're at the point where we're ready to build our brand outside of Amazon. And this whole time, we have it, right? Social media, Facebook, very, very passively. And I want to ask you, if you were to give me kind of a step-by-step, very high level, with Amazon, for example, you source your product, you list your product, you write the copy, you get the reviews, you launch. That's kind of the high level, I guess, right? If I was to build my brand outside of Amazon from a very high level perspective, like what kind of steps would that look like?
First thing I would do is improve your product. That's the first step before you do any type of external marketing. You cannot paint a turd, dude, and you cannot sell a turd. So just get out there and make your product better, whether it be packaging, tell the story on the packaging, whatever you need to do. Those are really simple steps that you can do with your supplier first, because that takes time to implement. So the first thing I would do is just go to your supplier, go on like 99 Designs, create a new design, get a copywriter, create something really nice, come up with your story, all that stuff. Create the product, get your product in your factory creating all that stuff, while then you come to the website, create a brand and a story. The story page is super important, and then start there. So then you build the website. I wouldn't necessarily really, dude, like, I don't think you need to have a ton of likes on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. I mean, that's all like just there. It's like social proof, I guess, but no one usually goes to Instagram to see if you're awesome before they go to Amazon and buy. What I would probably do is go to Google, because what people do is after they look for your product on Amazon, if there's 5 people that look the exact same, they're gonna go to Google and be like, this versus this, or like they're gonna have questions that are related to your product before a purchasing decision. So you creating assets on Google, whether it be you talking and like I said, the first video I ever made was an unboxing video. I think it's got video. Do you guys hear that? It's got an unboxing.
If I talk about skincare, if my customers see me, I don't know about my product anymore.
Oh, is it
I
a
know.
women? Is it a women?
It's for women only.
It's a women. So why did you?
I think you look pretty good.
So
with
why
that.
did you start your skincare product line? Was it because it was making money?
That my girlfriend did it, so.
That's a story right there. Hey, so I was looking for a product to try. My girlfriend really liked the skincare line, and you know, my relationship with her means a lot to me. So I wanted to invest in this brand and create something meaningful. So that's what goes into the skincare brand. Her, like, you know, my thoughts of her are poured into this brand, and that's what we're putting forward to you, or something like that. I mean, I don't know your relationship. I mean, I'm just saying that, like, you can use, you know, like, you can be honest. Like, look, my girlfriend picked this, and I don't know anything about skincare, but I mean, being honest and bringing that into your marketing is real.
Yeah, I think we just going back to the question of taking people and growing your brand outside of Amazon. We were talking earlier, but I think that whole idea of using your inserts to get people to your website, to get their emails, is really key. And then following that model of give, and then ask on an upsell later, I think is a really smart way of taking it off there. Because if you get the emails, then you can use Facebook advertising and audiences to grow that side. So
I'll say this: it's hard to give unless you know what you're going to give. So I'm saying, figure out your story first, figure out how you're going to tell the story, then go and collect emails. Because if you collect emails and you don't do it right, I mean, it doesn't matter. Like you're gonna get lost in the thousands of emails in their inbox. So I would really invest in figuring out what that story is. It doesn't sound like you've got that crystal clear yet. Brainstorm that. Really think about all the angles that you can kind of bring that in, that feel right to you. Look at your competitors. I guarantee you're going to get some gems that just show up.
It's building that avatar. It's building that avatar of like who your customer is and what is their need and what you can connect on. And,
yep.
Yeah.
And whatever's real to you, share it. So that's the first thing. Fix your product. Come up with a story. Once you come up with a story, start building assets, like John said, that are related to the product. So like guides on how to apply stuff, like maybe invest in influencer marketing. So other women using your products and getting reviews, putting them on your website. Like look at how many people are using my products and all this stuff. All that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Hey Raj, thanks for being here now.
Yeah.
So you were mentioning the review process, or just getting this first like 200 or 300. I was just wondering, did you really rely on just like an organic story for all of those, or did you do some other things to try to get people to leave reviews?
Well, under promise, over deliver. So that's the first thing. I wouldn't say that all my reviews came. I launched in a day where you could give away products in exchange for reviews. So I'm not even going to act like my first 100 were difficult to get, because that's where the game we played then. But now, if I had to do it all over again, one, I would get friends and I know it's super uncomfortable to get friends and family to leave reviews, but that's a really great way to get started, at least the first 20. Because the tests I've run is once you get 20 reviews, the next break in conversion rates happen at 100 reviews. And then the next break in conversion rate happen at 1,000. So the first 100 are really your sprint. You want to get there as fast as possible. The first 20 come from friends and family, and then the next 80 are, in my opinion, where you tweak and test your conversion rate. So you're changing bullet points, images, you're testing PPC, you're learning more about the product, and that's where you're really getting ground and understanding what's happening in the ecosystem that you're trying to dominate. So as far as getting reviews, I know some people that do different things like there's manufacturer rebates where you put it in the insert and say that, hey, look, give us feedback and we'll send you another product completely outside of Amazon. It's kind of black hat. Like I said, I don't feel comfortable doing a lot of black hat stuff just because of where our brand is now. So I don't try to do all that. But if I had to start all over again, I would try to find a way to implement ranking funnels and psychological triggers that allow people to leave reviews. So like one thing that we tested out that worked pretty well was we would run ranking funnels where we would send traffic from Facebook to Amazon. People would buy and we'd get their email, so they'd be on a list. So in the list every week we would like screenshot the best review and say, hey, thanks, person, you just won an entire $25 Amazon gift card for leaving such a great review. And that we just did that over time, and eventually people subconsciously started leaving more reviews. I can't lead that back to saying that we got a lot of reviews because of that process, but we did get reviews pretty quickly when we were implementing things like that with the grinder. So that kind of stuff is pretty organic. I mean, for doing this game, I'm a big fan of playing the long game. Because like I said, you're not going to build dominance until you get to 1,000. And to get to 1,000, you're not going to do giveaways or hacks. You can.
I think you have to have a really good differentiating product.
You've got to have a great product that sells itself. And what sells itself is the story or product quality. And unless you guys are building something like wild, like you guys are really putting a lot of thought into creating a product experience that's just like, wow, like there's Tootsie Rolls popping out of it or something. Like, I don't know, like there's crazy things you can probably do, but like unless you're doing something wild like that, it really is the story of like what your brand is, how you got started, and then asking for reviews. You'd be very surprised how many people will just give you a review if you ask it. Another thing actually we do, I didn't realize this, but big fan of converting seller feedback into reviews. Everybody here already doing that? Yeah. So that's a big way to do it. And you can do that. The same concept happens when you collect somebody's email and you tell storytelling and marketing. And then when you just give, all of a sudden you're like, hey, pretty small time guys, you want to leave a review? We get a lot of people responding. Yeah, we'll leave a review. So I think it's just the law of reciprocation. I mean, if you give, you'll get. It's not quantifiable, but it is a very sustainable way to build a brand. That's probably not the answer you wanted to hear, but it's how I prefer to do it.
So I think we're going to go with maybe one more question or two. Yeah, we have one over here.
You know, heard your story. I'm really impressed by the brand building aspect of it.
Yeah.
So I heard a couple of key terms, like let's say over delivering. That's something I heard from Magic Johnson. I don't know if you got that from the same place. But where do you pick up some of these philosophies in regards to like brand building? Like how do you tell a story? Like what books to read or what podcasts to look into? You can share with that.
Yeah. I want you guys to all find a guy named Joey Coleman. He is like one of the most brilliant customer experience people on the planet. He's coming out with a new book right now, and it's going to be amazing, but he's got a podcast as well. And I think the first episode I listened to his podcast, it was like a gem in there, and I'll share that here, but it was, customers don't compare your service or your experience with your competitors. They compare it to the last experience they had. So if somebody had a $300 steak dinner and then buy your product, they're subconsciously comparing your product experience to that $300 steak dinner, because that's just how our brains are wired. So those type of gems come from Joey. Big fan of The Purple Cow, which is a book by Seth Godin.
Yeah.
Great book on differentiating yourself and creating a brand that sells. Evolved Enterprise by a guy named Yannick Silver. Great book. I mean, that's where I really sort of connected the dots for my brand and really created the story that was connected to myself and was able to kind of tie it all together. That's a huge book for me.
What's it called again?
Evolved Enterprise by a guy named Yannick Silver. Let's see, what other storytelling? Building a Story Brand. That's another really good book. Let me think. What's a
Podcast.
podcasts? Podcast Joey's. I love Joey's podcast on customer experiences and really, I'm a huge funnel hacker, so I love buying other people's products out of my niche and out of my price range, because usually when you buy luxury products, you start to get a lot of really crazy ideas of like just how they're treating their customers. And if you can, most people don't know how to source in China, so we all win here for that. So if you can take stuff that people are doing in the United States and charging 10 times as much, you take the same ideas, go to someone in China and be like, hey, can you create something pseudo like this? But even if it's 10% of the effect, if it's a $400 product, you just gave a $40 experience for a $10 product. So you actually end up creating an experience that's pretty magical. So I'm a huge fan of buying other people's products and capturing inspiration in that way. Brands that I admire, I do that. One of my favorite brands on the planet, I love Best Self Co. They are a journal company. One of the founders is one of my best friends, and he's built a company that went from 0 to about 12 million in 2 years, and building just an impeccable product and customer experience. And I would highly recommend everybody funnel hacking the shit out of him, because I think he's definitely worth funnel hacking. I think who else? Yeah, man. I mean, I think really it's just having being aware is a big thing. So if you're out somewhere, like for example, I was walking before I came in here. I was walking around Hollywood, and I walked into a store across the corner. I think it's like Story something. It's like a pink lettering. I don't know. It's like some story. It's like a record store with like clothing inside of it, and like it's got weird books that have nothing to do with one another, like all kind of put around. And I just walked in there, and I just thought that brand was so cool. It was so interesting to me. And when I did that, I'd sit down and say, all right, what is so interesting about this? Like, why am I so interested in this? So I think being intentional about noticing things as you're experiencing them, or even people with great style, why do you admire them? Like, what about them is standing out to you? All of it is a part of branding, and the more aware you can be about the things that make you attracted, so like whether it's something that you want to buy, if there's shoes you want to buy, like why do you want to buy them? Like if there's clothes that you really like, if there's celebrities you really like why? Asking yourself why and really thinking about like what about them is attracting you is likely going to attract other people too, and applying those marketing techniques to your brand is a really simple way to get ideas without having to go and find mentors and all that fun stuff.
Awesome. I think okay. One last question, and then we'll call it.
What's up, dude?
So thanks for the talk. It's really informational and really appreciate it. Do you think the market's too saturated, and what do you think the future of your business looks like?
Future of coffee or of Amazon? I think that Amazon's still one of the best places to launch a business. I don't think it's one of the best places to like keep a business forever, which is why but I still think it's the fastest way to make money. And no one can take that away. I mean, it's faster to make money on Amazon than anywhere else in the world. I mean, if you go and tell anybody above the age of, like I told my dad actually, this. I was like, Dad, I mean, we invested in a product and got it to making 10 grand a month in 3 months. Like that doesn't happen in any other type of business. Like that really doesn't, even for the small investment that it is, even if you buy just $1,000 worth of product, like you cannot make your money back that fast in any other type of business. So I still think that e-commerce and Amazon is a huge playground. I do think it is a playground though, and not where you want to spend all of your time once you become successful. So once you build momentum on the platform, that's when you want to start really investing in those brand assets that you can leverage to build something off of Amazon. But the beautiful thing about Amazon is once you rank and once you stick it and you don't run out of stock, you're making money for a really long time until you just really screw up.
And Amazon knows that, so they just reward you. And
oh my God, they literally
yeah.
I'm telling you, just staying in stock. I cannot say that enough. Like, I can't tell you how many people I've just outlasted. Like, I've just outlasted so many people that ran out of stock, and all of a sudden, they need to put someone in the bestseller tag. Well, this guy's been in stock forever. Let's just put him in there. Like, it's just such a simple thing like that. But that comes with cash flow management, right? That comes with being able to fund inventory orders and setting up, purchase loans and being able to be smart about where you're deploying your capital, which is business in itself. So I do think that there's a future. I do think that you need to be smart, and I do think you need to move fast, which is why I'm another big fan of just focusing on finding one product that takes off and then building a brand around that product. I still think that's the fastest way to win on Amazon, because then you use the money you make on Amazon to invest in an off Amazon presence that makes you almost invincible for that one product line. So does that answer your question?
Not really the first part.
The first part was, is there a future on Amazon?
No, in terms of the saturation.
Oh.
So, for all of us, you obviously are interested in creating Amazon business.
Yeah.
It's happening in every city, probably across the world. So for people who want to do what you do, find a product and source it, become top ranking in the niche. Do you think that is too saturated? And so obviously when you started 3 years ago, it was probably the best time, not the best time, but better than it is now. Do you think it's still a good time to get in?
So it definitely depends on the product. You have to be smart about the product. So which is why I said I don't just look for product research on Amazon. I look for niche research. Is there an opportunity for me to scale this outside of Amazon? I don't think it's too late to start. I really don't. And I mean that honestly. If you find the right niche, if you find the wrong niche, man, if you jump in and you expect to make money without putting in extra effort, it depends on how much capital you have to deploy too. I've spent a lot of money ranking my product, even back in the day. I spent a lot of money before I actually started making money. But it took that consistency. If I would have given up, then I wouldn't have made it. So it really depends on your stomach too. Are you willing to put in a lot of money ahead of time to get the win? So that's a conversation for yourself, obviously, right? But if you find the right product niche and you stick with it, and you implement strategies that gurus are teaching to rank your products on Amazon, and then implement off Amazon tactics, for example, I said this, but when I went when I first launched, after I got my product ranked, making 10 grand a month, I went to Google and I just started paying people, sending my products to bloggers and just sending links to Amazon. I would take off-beaten paths like that to cement my brand in the space. So it just depends.
Yeah, and I think my answer there is I think it's getting better and better, especially if you're focusing on creating a brand and a product rather than just retail, just selling someone else's product or whatever. And I think that, if you, Amazon is just growing and growing, and they're investing as much money as they can, and it's, e-commerce is becoming bigger and bigger. So you just get a little niche and a little percentage. 3 years ago when we started, everyone was like, "Oh, is it too saturated then?" So it's always going to be like that. But no, it's definitely getting better and better, I think.
And I'll say this, I'm starting to sell a lot more on Shopify, right? So I have a website. We average like a 1 to 2% conversion rate, and I'm like giddy when I get 2%. On Amazon, we're like 25, 30. You just don't get that type of conversion rates anywhere on the internet. So when you think about it, that right there, people are hungry to buy on Amazon. There's more people coming on Amazon every single year. Even just me staying in stock, has grown my sales like 20%. So when you really think about it, I think it is a long game though. It's not a quick game. So if you're invested in that, and you be aggressive, you have to be aggressive. If you're not moving fast, and doing everything you can to get reviews, if you're not really being proactive and getting after it, you're gonna have a tough time, because you're right, it is saturated. But if you're putting in the work and you're really getting after it and being very aggressive, I still think there's room for people to make a lot of money.
So thank you, Raj. That was awesome. I appreciate it. Have some of that good beer.
Yeah, great, high quality beer.
Sorry, I'll bring better beer next time.